But what the courts have said is your boss does get to infringe on your Second Amendment rights.
We're the Armed Attorneys. We're on a mission to make life for the law-abiding gun owner just a little bit easier by sharing fast and factual gun law information. Today, we're talking about whether your employer can restrict your right to effectively carry a firearm at work or in company vehicles. Now, make sure to stick around to the end for our attorney pro tip of the day about whether you lose your right to self-defense if your employer has a no firearms policy. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And now, like most of our videos, we have to start with some assumptions. We got a legal carrier, somebody carrying under the authority of constitutional carry or maybe a license or permit. They're carrying a legal weapon. They're not a prohibited person, all things being equal. And whether they can carry that firearm into the premises of their work or in their company vehicle. And what do we say, when it comes to at-will employment states, Emily?
Yeah, and that's our second assumption here, right? And this is the assumption that's going to apply to 90+% of people who are watching this, is that you're in an employment at-will state, meaning you can be fired for anything at any time, right? So, I don't like Richard's white shirt. I do, but if I didn't, I could fire him for that. And also that you're not a union employee, you don't have a collective bargaining agreement. Basically, you don't have procedural rights between you and being terminated, which is, again, most of us. So all of that assumption in place, the courts have said, yes, your boss can infringe on the Second Amendment. He can infringe on your right to carry. And the consequence is, if you don't obey, you can be fired. And the reason for that is there really are just a couple classes, we call them protected classes. There are a couple classes people can fall into that stop them from being fired. These are the reasons you can't be fired. They are your race, your gender, your national origin, any disability, your religion, your genetic information, and being over 40 years old, being pregnant or any medical conditions that develop from pregnancy. And also, you can't be fired in retaliation for asserting any anti-discrimination rights under state and federal law. You can't be fired for refusing to do something illegal or unethical. And you can't be fired for complaining about OSHA violations. And there are a couple others, but those are our biggies. So, what's not on that list, Richard?
Yes. Unfortunately, being somebody who exercises the Second Amendment, somebody who keeps and bears arms, a lawful carrier, they are not considered or part of what's called a protected class. They're not in that list that Emily just went through. And so what does that mean for most folks who live in an at-will employment state? And remember, there's exceptions to every single rule, but for most of us, that means that an employer could lawfully terminate a person if the sole basis for the termination was, hey, we have a no firearms policy, or hey, we told these people they're not allowed to carry at work or in company vehicles. That would be considered a lawful termination under most states' law. Now, that kind of brings us to our attorney pro tip of the day of, do you lose your right to self-defense just because your work has a no firearms policy, Emily?
Yeah, so let's say that you've chosen to disregard that policy, or maybe it wasn't clear. It was in the handbook, you didn't know, but either way, you've carried into your office place when you're not supposed to. Maybe you've got a firearm in your company vehicle and you're not supposed to have one in the company vehicle. You can still defend yourself. The Castle Doctrine in most states protects you in the vehicle. In some states, it protects you in your place of work. You still get those Castle Doctrine benefits and you can still exercise self-defense. However, just because it's not a crime to defend yourself and just because the law, probably Castle Doctrine, covers you in a lot of these situations, it still doesn't mean you can't get fired. It doesn't trump the employment law. It doesn't trump your employer's ability to discipline or fire you. So, you can be cleared by the courts, but you might still be walking out with a box of your stuff.
Well, we hope you found this content helpful. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please continue to question and comment below. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.